Y seguimos acá con este juegazo Black Myth Wukong. Perfecto no es, la calidad de From Software no la tiene, pero eso no quiere decir que no es un juegazo. Es un juegazo, sobre todo cuando te enfrentas con jefes. Ayer había unos muy difíciles, muy difíciles. Así que vamos a ver qué onda. Un podcast o algo en el famoso iPad. Espero no les moleste. Se los digo ahorita que no hay nadie para cuando así se conecten 2-3 personitas. Yo ya les dije que perdón. Y listo. Siempre hay que configurar esta mamada.
course, that was a free-to-play game. I actually put about 5 or 6 hours into it. It pretty much felt like I saw everything I needed to.
Aquí hay algún pinche jefe.
Cost me any money. Hardcore, on the other hand, does not have that luxury for 2 specific reasons. First and foremost, this is a $40 game. They are charging money for a game that has many contemporaries that are free to play, that are arguably better, that are arguably more fleshed out, that are arguably more quality experiences and more familiar experiences. And really, the characters that you brought to the table here aren't really all that interesting. There's been a whole debate about these characters. Yes, I can definitely see how it just seems like they just sort of did like a DEI checklist or something like that to include every sort of person in the world. But if the characters were interesting, if they had, you know, something interesting about them, I don't necessarily think that really matters at the end of the day, you know, whatever their race,
You fur-face, I meant to let you pass, but you chose to ruin my day! Now, face your doom.
sex, your gender, your religion, your sexual preference. I'm Rand. This is my channel. Xbox ready. Where we talk. Welcome back to the Nerd Nest, everybody. This is the Amberneck RG40XXV, and there's going to be a lot of videos out there about this device.
I will not leave until my blood
that the 40V is just a little tiny bit narrower than that as far as thickness. At its thickest point, the 40V is thicker than an NES cartridge, but at its thinnest point, the 40V is narrower than an NES cartridge.
Ponte vida, verga.
Somebody can throw $60 at something like this and not really feel it, then it might be worth the upgrade. But if somebody throwing $60 at something like this, and they just bought something else, you know, and they might be like, well, I don't know if I can really afford that, then I would say no, it's not worth the upgrade. However, if you haven't purchased the new device in a while, and you're not in the market for one, which if you are responding to comments on posts like can protect when you close it. That is a 3.5 screen versus a 4 screen.
Hizo como mexicano, ¿no? ¡Ay, ay, 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 ay! Puta madre. Creo que me mató.
Question comes from AG45727. They said, can't wait for the review. Thing looks clean. How's the D-pad, and does the plastic feel cheap or premium? Okay, so first off, let's talk about the D-pad. This D-pad is actually really good. So I'm gonna do Russ's Contra test. If you don't know, Russ runs Retro Game Port. He's on my podcast, which is the Nerd Nest podcast, and he has this thing called the Contra test, where you load up Contra, you push down so that your character will squat down, and you kind of rock it back and forth, and you see how many accidental. Hold on, I gotta shoot this guy. Oh, I died. How many accidental diagonals you get. And it works pretty good. This is not bad. This is absolutely passing the Contra test. The other test that people like to use is, you know, how is it for fighting games? Can you throw fireballs and stuff like that fairly easily? So I'm going to load up Super Street Fighter 2. And we're going to try some Hadoukens and some Shoryukens. I give up. Alright, so trying to... Oops, that's a punch. I can throw fireballs. Pretty good. No, okay, I was trying to do a dragon punch that time. So I can throw the dragon punch.
Not
ตาย
You are seeking my doom just like this girl. I'm more than pleased to give you. stands behind me. I can kill every destined one
Black Myth Wukong is on the road to being one of the best-selling video games of all time. It's broken records selling an estimated 10 million copies in just 3 days. But of those 10 million, how many were physical releases? Well, none of them, because the biggest game of the year does not have a
Pobre niño, güey. Luego es muy pesado.
Critique it and put a red line note all over it, and we cut it up into pieces and hid it around the map where some bits you could only see if you had a sniper scope, and these guys, they can find it and put it back together in like less than a day. So then the next thing was like, okay, let me go to try and take some messages and encrypt them, and I used things like Caesar ciphers, and then I used like the Enigma code at one point, or spectral analysis, Morse code we've used in the past as well. Even at a point where there were certain messages hidden where you had to use an oscilloscope to actually be able to decode it and find out. And the community keeps on finding and keeps on decoding. So going into Black Ops 3, I'm fed up now, and I'm going to really put one in that you guys can't break. And it will be hidden in different arenas, and you won't get this one.
You mentioned kind of before the Shadows of War map came out, before you'd even touched Black Ops 3 Zombies, that there would be an Easter egg included that none of us will find. It's not going to be solvable. Yep. You don't have any faith in us for that aspect. Has that Easter egg been found? Which is no.
Final question here. Right? You've talked in the past about an unsolvable Easter egg. With this unsolvable Easter egg, yes, it might be more right.
No mames. Pues lo hiciste, brother.
That you have no context to. So I highly recommend that you watch this video from the beginning, because as I said in my tweet, this shit is deep and very complex to understand and even more complex to explain. So if you do really care, you're going to want to join my Discord, which is in the description below. It will have all the resources, all the references, and all the images that I discovered and created, so it's easier to understand.
The Black Ops 3 Zombies impossible Easter egg has finally been solved. Or has it? In case you don't know what the hell's going on, let me get you up to speed. During Black Ops 3 in 2015/16, Jason Blundell introduced this idea of an impossible Easter egg. It was something that he said would never be solved, and he was putting it into the game as a challenge to the Zombies community.
No, pues conmigo no te perdones, yo no hiciste nada.
And clues and secrets, and he he wanted something even more challenging to really test us all and see if we were as smart as we thought we were. In the years since he announced it, the community have obviously come forward with hundreds, if not thousands of different theories about what this impossible Easter egg might be. And there have been misconceptions. People saying, oh, it's definitely an Easter egg that's just on Shadows of Evil. And actually it's turned out, no, it's not just a specific thing that you can narrate. Other people have said, oh, it's probably something that you can activate in the game somewhere. And then we've sort of thought about it and gone, hold on, that doesn't really make sense. And Jason himself has actually commented saying that he wouldn't do that because he knows that that would just get data mined. So you might feel like maybe all of the theories that we've had have been totally off the mark and nobody's even come close to making progress on it. That also wouldn't be true in Jason's own words. We've got this unsolvable Easter egg. Yeah, check. Yes, there might be one. Definitely, right? So, is it something we've come at all close to? Is it just right sort of somewhere? That's just the biggest teasing. So this is pretty interesting. There's an impossible Easter egg that the community has made meaningful progress on that doesn't seem to be related to just a singular map in isolation. And it's not going to be something that we can just rip from the game files, but it is still in the game. There is still something hidden in there for us to look for. So how do we bring all of those things together and unify them and make it consistent theory as to what this is? Well, that brings us to the present day where the impossible Easter egg is still unsolved. Slight in it has just posted a video making a whole load of potential problems. I want to give props to Slight for his video. I think that it's very well made. It gives a really wonderful recap of the entire story in a lot more depth than I'm going to go into in this video. So if you'd like the full context here, I've linked his video in the description down below, and you guys are absolutely welcome and encouraged to go check it out. What I want to do is I'm going to laser in on the part of the discussion that I think you guys are going to be most interested in this video, which is my take on things, and also where I think this is going to go next in solving this Easter egg. Because I think there's some stuff that Skype hasn't added to the picture that I want to contribute to the discussion. So one of the things that Skype covers in the video is the name of the KN-41. Originally, right before 3 came out, the gun was actually named 2 different names, and then right before launch, it got changed, and in-game we obviously know it as the KN-44. Now, one of Skype's discoveries is that he messaged an old dev of Treyarch, maybe still works at Treyarch, and that dev told Skype that the name was changed for a zombies reason. It wasn't a legal thing, like some speculated, it wasn't anything like that. It was a zombies-driven change. This is obviously a big deal. This is a really big deal. The KN-44 doesn't just appear in the multiplayer and appear in the mystery box, but it also, weirdly, appears all over the zombies mode. It's really frequently referenced in a way that kind of feels bizarre. It's almost like the KN is a character in zombies, and the most notable one is this document.
Qué verga, ¿qué le pasó?
This is what it looks like, and it's a blueprint signature in the corner, and so many keys, a load of diagrams on the left and the right hand side. You've got these overlapping universes seemingly, and in the center you have the KN-44 wall line inside this box. That type of box is very special. It's not just a cube, but it's a hypercube, which is this idea of a cube being represented in more than just 3 dimensions. We'll talk about this more in a second, because I need to go into some detail about the mathematics at play here, because they're very relevant, but we'll save that for a moment. So the KN is in the middle of this document, right? It's in the middle of this blueprint, and
Me siento arrepentido. Tan tarán, pa 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 pan, z, gojo Saturno, que acutana. ¿Estás drogado?
We learned that he did that with things like the mystery box or things like the perks that you can buy, like all these sorts of things. They were infused with so much of Dr. Monty's magic, and so maybe this is just a blueprint showing that this is how Dr. Monty makes wall chalks work. And so why not show a KN-44 as just an example weapon to indicate that that's what the blueprint is sort of describing. So there were theories back then as to what this was meant, but it felt like it was a lot of work to do. It was a real lengthy process. So why explain that he's involved with perks or the box or whatever one way, and then why be so complex and convoluted when specifically talking about his wall chalks? Like, it's just a bit weird. So it felt like maybe there was more to the puzzle here. Maybe there was something that had been unfound by the community, something that we had missed maybe. And so people made further speculation saying, okay, well, it's all on grid. Could it be that there's some kind of chessboard situation happening here? Maybe we need to use grid squares here and like overlay it over a given map and then go to a location on a map. Maybe the direction that the gun is pointing is important. All those sorts of questions, right? And that kind of brings us to Skype's big theory, which is that if we combine the questions around the name of the KN-44 with the cube that we're seeing the KN-44 displayed inside here, or rather its technical name, the hypercube, we might be able to kind of make some progress because one might affect the other. Like, we've kind of treated them as separate for all these years, but maybe there is a more sort of literal link between the two. I'll play a clip from this now so you can see what Sky says.
It can't just be that the KN stood for Chronorium, that's just too simple. So I had to keep on digging, and one day when reading more on hypercubes, it all hit me at once. The KN-44 is not a name, it's a f***ing equation. A hypercube is made up of K- cubes and N- cube. When displaying a standard hypercube, it is written as K-4 or N-4. Combine those together, what do you get? A f***ing KN-44. The impossible puzzle, the KN-44, it was all connected and everything started to make sense. That's why he wanted the name change from the ARC-7 to the KN-44. That's why he originally said it would be hidden across multiple arenas. That's why he specifically mentioned ciphers in the torn paper Easter egg in this interview. That's why the only two things in Black Ops 3 Zombies that never got answered, he told us not to forget. It all checked out, and for the first time ever hunting this egg, I actually found something of substance, something that definitely wasn't a coincidence.
The way you presented this is really great. It really feels like opening the door on a massive discovery that's going to mean that this impossible egg gets solved pretty much straight away. And I don't want to put a dampener on the situation here, but I do want to just make sure that we're all kind of driving in the right direction as to what the implications might be. And to do that, honestly,
La neta, los jefes se sienten demasiado difíciles ahora. Pero difíciles en el sentido de que como que son muy débil para ellos ahorita. Simplemente les hago muy poco daño.
And just so we can keep track of that, let's sort of mark that down, and we're going to use n to remind ourselves how many dimensions it has. So we're going to say n equals 2, okay? We'll talk more about this mysterious n thing in a moment, but let's just do a cube as an example. So I'm just going to draw a kind of crappy cube here, like this. This is obviously three-dimensional, and the axis...
Ese corte de pelo. ¿Neta estás drogado? Las drogas son malas, brother.
And so the question is, what happens when n equals 4? Like, we can go the other way. We can go to n equals 1. N equals 1 is much more simple. That's one-dimensional, n being the number of dimensions. What is a one-dimensional shape? Well, it's a line, because a line is just the x-axis, and there's no y-axis, right? So the only thing you can do is move along the plane. So that's one-dimensional. You can even do 0. With n equals 0, you no longer have any movement this way, or this way, or this way, or anywhere. So you're basically just a dot. Like, that is a way that we can kind of visualize like something zero-dimensional. Like, there is no dimension in that case, so you're just a point. The dimension is the range over which you move, but if there is no movement to be had, then you're just in place. You're not going anywhere, kind of thing, right? So you can go to 0, you can't go negative, that's the thing. So when you say non-negative number, what n is able to be, as soon as you get to n equals 4, it's get really hard to think about, because we as humans are used to three-dimensional space, right? We are used to moving forwards or backwards, that's one dimension, or right, that's another dimension, up or down, that's another dimension, and what's the fourth? We're talking about time as a dimension, like before and after, that technically is another sort of outcome. When we're talking about spatial dimensions, n equals 4, it's a little bit more confusing, but that's where the hypercube theory kind of enters the picture. We can summarize everything we just said with the next statement. N-dimensional
¿Qué verga? O sea, lo esquivé.
Okay, so next we need to introduce this concept called graph theory. And to be very oversimplifying here, basically graph theory is just a way to think about shapes, but instead of thinking about a random shape.
Ay, no ha servido mi dead counter, no mames. Pa' mamada el dead
This
counter.
is a square. Nice. Instead, in graph theory, you might say, okay, well, it's not just a square. Actually, this is a graph, right? This is actually like a network of nodes. Like, this is a point here. This is a vertex. Then you've got another one here. You've got another one in the corner. Another one there. And so we can describe that square as a relation between those points. So we can use this sort of language of mathematics, this graph theory language, to describe hypercubes like we were just doing a moment ago. So we were using n as the number of dimensions. So we're actually going to stick with that. And rather than saying like n-dimensional cube, we're actually going to create a list of these potential objects, right? These different dimensional things. We're going to start a list. N is a little n. This is not the same as saying like this n like this. Because if you imagine right, if you went like this, an equation might be like that might suddenly look quite strange. Let's see if this is q times n, or if this is something else. 4 times 3.
Qué putería de ataque, güey.
Like a label that's been applied to the cube, so then there's sort of no ambiguity remaining. Okay, so that's why we use small n like this. It's a little subscript n, and n again still is the number of dimensions. And like we said, we're not going to go negative. It's going to be non-negative whole numbers. You can't have like a half dimension. So that means that n, and this is going to be some mathsy terms. Give me a second. Is in the set here of non-negative integers, which we can write like so. So this is just a list, okay? Don't get intimidated by this. This is just us saying n is some number in this set of numbers, and that number could be 0, like we said, it could be 1, it could be 2, upwards. And so that means that you could have q0, you could have q1, you could have q2, you could have q3, you could have q4, and that could go upwards to any higher dimension. And the q here, the reason we're mentioning q, we're bringing q into the situation, is because q is basically just our label for which hypercube graph we are referring to. So if we're talking about q3, that is the graph for a 3-dimensional hypercube. So every single one of these q's is a graph for a hypercube. Now, sometimes mathematicians will not always very commonly used, but you also sometimes see people using the letter K. And you see this all across mathematics. This isn't isolated. This happens everywhere in any field that's using math. Using here is really super necessary unless you're referring to name something. But really, just using that, we need something to represent this list.
Qué mamada, qué mamada, qué mamada. Estaba congelado atacándolo y de repente saca su super puto ataque de mierda este.
Visual image in your mind that a hypercube kind of has a K cube and an N cube, and if you sort of connect them together, that is what makes a hypercube. But I would reframe that thinking, and I would basically say, actually, a hypercube just is an N cube, and it's not an N cube and a K cube. It's just that some people call them N cubes and other people call them K cubes, but it's not this thing where you're like taking an N cube and a K cube and there's like a sort of relation between them that turns it into a K cube. So when he says like those things go into the equation for it, like I think that's a misunderstanding. We can use an example of a square. Okay, a square is a 2 cube, is a 2-dimensional hypercube where n equals 2. Okay, and a 2 cube square. If we use slice language, it means made up of K cubes and N cubes. So therefore, be made up of 2 cubes and 2 cubes. Because n equals 2 and K equals 2. But in that scenario, like, why are we using n and K? The same thing, the dimension is equal to. And also, why are we saying 2 cubes, which is what we expect, is made up of 2 cubes and 2 cubes? It's not, it just is a 2 cube. So I think that's the first slight misconception. And then the second bit
Qué verga con este jefe, güey. Qué verga, o sea,
K minus 4 and N minus 4 and overlap them together, you get K, N, 40.
no te da y te pega. Como que
Agrees with Sky here, and part of me just wants to make sure again that we're thinking about this in the right way. First of all, a little devil's advocate
suena el FUM de que lo esquivé perfecto y de todos modos me quita toda mi vida.
things in his video, and I see no reason why you can, for example, name a weapon K or N4. Like, I don't think it necessarily has to be listed in this particular way. Realizing it, my K really doesn't feel like pushing that particular word aside. The question I would like to is, why, when writing in this video, when A and shows in this video are both variables that you can use to just describe the dimensionality dimension of the cube. And you have this thing called this common sum of such a hypercube, and that's called the magic constant of that hypercube. And the equation for the magic constant is this. That is our magic hypercube constant equation. And you'll see that here we have n and we have k, which is something we felt like we were looking for before, but it didn't make sense just in the plain language of regular hypercubes. And in the scenario, funnily enough, k satisfies the rules for it to be defined as a magic hypercube, then we can actually call it, when k is 4, a magic tesseract. So just to recap, this formula, n is the length of the side of the hypercube, and k is how many dimensions the hypercube has. And I think that be really into this stuff. I think he would love this stuff. So what he might have done is he might have basically
No.
with the name of the KN44 to sort of say to us that the KN itself is sort of a nod to this concept of this magic tesseract. And I also have a crack at theory. I have a truly crazy theory. I think it's just a very interesting food for thought for you guys as we continue to think about this Easter egg that I want to present you with, because I think you'll like it. It is very abstract, so I want you to bear with me while I try and get through this idea. And honestly, I might need a whiteboard next week to take it out. You think of regular, just like a grid, right? Just a regular ass grid. And you have a coordinate on that grid that's like 3 on the x-axis, 4 on the y-axis. You can describe where it is, right? And Jason that if there was an item in the game in Shadows of Evil, and it was at a specific sort of coordinate grid square, then we would be able to just find that in the game files, and instantly, if that was somehow an Easter egg or related to an Easter egg, we would just be like, okay, found the Easter egg, done, finished, right? So this is too simple. Jason can't do this. But what if what Jason did is he said, okay, this KN44 is a recurring theme in zombies. And so what if I use that to construct my own kind of dimension on which to lay these clues? So let me explain what I mean. So which is the coordinate of shadows of evil, right? Like the x-axis, y-axis of shadows, you put it on the box, on the ground, you find a thing, right? There could be another map, there could be a sense of
No, yo no quería hacer eso. Bueno, me morí.
individually that was an Easter egg of some kind, we would just look at it and be like, okay, well, I found it from the game code. So, like, that was easy. Similarly, if in sort of promotional art for the game, like something external to the game, if they released an asset or something, and that people might be like, oh, okay, it's a KN44. Easy. Finish. And similarly, if there was a cutscene, for instance, then again, it might be like, oh, I found the KN44. Well, easy peasy Easter egg solved. But what I wonder is, instead of saying, it's a spatial Easter egg, and instead of saying, oh, it's just like a visual Easter egg like this, I wonder if Jason has said, you know what, I'm going to create a treasure map here. The treasure map isn't in physical space. It's not an XY coordinate like this, and nor is it just purely in visual space in terms of being present in a cutscene. But what if the dimensions of Jason's treasure map, instead of being XY spatial coordinates, what if those dimensions are just everything within the product of Black Ops 3? I know this is really ambiguous, and it's not going to make immediate sense, but just work with me. This is Black Ops 3. Like, everything in here, along X, is like going in one direction in Black Ops 3, in Y is going in another direction. Maybe this is like spatial on the X-axis, visual on the Y-axis, just for an example. What Jason can do is he can place these individual components inside Black Ops 3 in intentional places. He can be like, okay, maybe let's say that actually this axis is like green, basically, and maybe this axis is space, for example, okay? And so in this scenario, you might be like, okay, I need a marker to indicate when something is relating to this treasure map that I'm creating and when it's not. And the marker could be the KN44. So Jason could say, okay, prior to launch, it was called something else, so it wasn't irrelevant, right? But T equals 0, the game comes out and Shadows of Evil releases. And so there could be a bunch of things on this line from T equals 0, which could have different sort of spatial components. Let's say that the spatial component is how far away from the spawn each KN44 is, just as an example. And so you might have like one KN44 that's here. You could have another KN44 that's much further. You could have another KN44 that's really far. And then you could say, okay, well, if we then connect this to the next map, DE, maybe in DE there's the KN44 again. It's like here and here. And then maybe you go, oh, hold on, the Giant also came out at the same time as Shadows of Evil, so we missed some KN44s. Maybe there was a KN44 here. And then you could think further into the future, okay, oh, we've got Zetsubo now. Maybe there's loads actually in Zetsubo. Maybe it's like a full sort of line like that. And then you could think, okay, Gorod Krovi. And maybe Gorod Krovi has like, again, sort of marks in place. So this would be a very abstract way of connecting the dots on these placements of these KN44s or these inclusions of these KN44s. And it would be incredibly difficult to actually find the right conception on this Jason had in his head when he was putting all these things together. Like, it would be very, very difficult. But that might be why he was focused this whole time to think kind of in four dimensions, right? Because we have the X, Y dimension of space, we have the Z dimension.
¿Por qué le pico eso, güey?
Dimension, right? If we get already all these things can just be solved in regular spatial coordinates or whatever. We start thinking all this fourth dimension is. The fourth dimension is the medium itself. It's the medium itself is Black Ops 3. And so I sort of wonder if what he was sort of coyly doing, sneakily doing, is saying, yeah, I've created this medium, literally this dimension, Black Ops 3, along which I've sprinkled these KN44s. And if you join all the dots of the KN44s of Black Ops 3, what if you join the dots together and it's something like this, and it says Easter egg, or it's like some kind of reference, it's something that we clearly look at and go, we've sorted it, we've done it, we've actually figured it out. This, to me, is why I have never actually put a huge amount of brain power into trying to solve the Easter egg. I think it is such a nugget of Jason's insanity. I think that the likelihood of there being something so hard to solve is so great that I think that it is beyond that counts. I truly do think that. But I think it's these sorts of crazy ramblings here, and I think it's these sorts of crazy ramblings here that probably will eventually get us towards some kind of solution. I think the Skyscraper is fantastic, getting us thinking about K and N not as entrepreneurial, but actually as goals, okay, that might indicate an array of we might then be able to use these sorts of crazy crackpot ideas to make some meaningful progress. That is fantastic. I'm so happy the Sky has made that leap,
Una pendejada de juego.
displayed it to you guys and to the world in such a clear way. I think that his video really is great. It's just that while we talk about this stuff, we need to make sure that we're careful about getting mixed up with things like the cubes being in the cubes and things along those lines. I don't have an answer for you as to what the impossible Easter egg actually means. I don't think we're there yet. But I think that this is genuine, meaningful progress, and the right person that comes along with the right intuition about why these 4s are relevant, like is it N equals 4, K equals 4, is it N equals 44 and then K is something else, is it to do with magic hypercubes, is it to do with magic tesseracts, is there some kind of broader dimensional kind of insight that Jason's pushing us towards there? Like somebody will connect the dots and try something one day and it's gonna work, and it's not gonna work in game. It's gonna do something like this. This is the best way I can possibly describe how Jason can put an Easter egg in the game without it being in the game. Because the game is the medium. The game is now the ground on which the treasure map is drawn. It's just not drawn in real XY space. It's drawn in Black Ops 3 space. So hopefully I've made this clear and explained this in a way that you guys have understood. If I have done, I really appreciate a like on the video and subscribe. And also, like I said earlier in the video, if you want to get one of these other YouTube stickers, there's a whole bunch of these ones.
La puta mamada, en serio. Ay.
Today we're going to react to Tim the Tatman's reaction of the Liberty Falls cinematic trailer and explain to him what the hell is going on, because for a new Zombies fan, it's kind of hard to piece together all the different stuff that's happening, and as he says at the start of his video here,
As someone that isn't super
not a
big
super big
into zombies,
fan.
I'm trying to understand it, and I need your help.
yeah, he needs a helping hand, he needs someone to sort of light the way for him, so we're going to do exactly that. So let me move my camera here so that I'm not on top of Tim, but also, he mutes the copyright music at the start of this, so just for the first, like 30 seconds, the trailer doesn't have a no way, but it does kick in after that, so just imagine. I'll help you.
Older style music, just
Is relatively the most important character in all of Fortnite Zombies, and we're still talking about the copyright music.
sitting by the tree, eating the cherries, kids playing in the backyard, like that's the vibe, okay? And then the audio starts cutting in, and the happy music is going away. So I hope you.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, this is Edward. He mutes the copyrighted music at the start of this, so just for the first like 30 seconds, the trailer's gonna have no audio, but it does kick in after that. Edward Richterfoot, he has gone through some twists and Numa. Edward Richterfoot.
Audio starts cutting in.
Yep.
That happy music is going away.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, this is Edward Richterfoot started out in Zombies being this crazy child, Numa, all the way back in 2009. And so many years later,
Chinga tu puta madre.
he's gone through some twists and turns in an old universe, right? An old universe which people call the Ether Story, and then he got spat out of the Ether Story as a child, and he entered this current universe, and then obviously grew up and got into the position he's in today, which we'll see more about in just a moment. And he's one of the only remaining elements, the only remaining fragments of that old story. We're now in the Dark Ether Story. Okay, let's keep it rolling.
You guys understand?
Yes. I hope you understand as well. So good. So what they this new version of Rick One, they used that shot of his family, they used a shot of his family way back in Cold War Zombies. And in Cold War, basically what there is, he was in Cold War as a figure that was pulling strings behind the scenes. You didn't see him. And at the very end of Zombies, you see Ricky Byrne and you're like, oh my god, it's him, it's real, he's this like director, that's crazy, and he has a family now, which he never had in the old games.
The zombies are actually gonna be like a horror game, right?
There you go, there's a shot of his family, it's different.
Pretty cool.
We'll get that, Tim, don't you worry, we'll get that. So, there being something wrong with Sam is also something that you might have questions about, Tim. So, Sam is Samantha Maxis, who is probably the second most important character in all of Call of Duty Zombies. Arguably, she's actually number one, and Richmond's number two. They're kind of almost tied for top spot. But Samantha played a huge part in the story of Cold War as well, which is the new Dark Ether story. That's where I began Cold War. And in Cold War, Samantha basically got banished to the Dark Ether, which is this almost as like a separate
Ay, me queda nada. A nada, porque si me podía transformar después de eso ya la armaba. Está imposible esta mierda, güey.
So this sort of goes to show, just as Tim being a temperature gauge here, the WAP resonates with more of a sort of normal audience almost, which is awesome because that means that that's something that Treyarch can leverage to market the game even more effectively. So that's a good sign.
You literally. Secure the command post. Call in response teams. Get Liberty Force locked down. Copy. Copy.
Por cierto.
Ladies, gentlemen, and destined ones of all ages, there are plenty of activities to do in Black Myth Wukong. And if you only follow the main path through the game, you will miss a gigantic chunk of what is actually available. And while some people want to just sort of get through it, others want to explore literally every corner. And then there is a lot of middle ground between that too. Let's say maybe you don't care about like a mind core and a chest, but maybe you do care about finding all of the weapons and armor that are available that you might miss by ignoring optional parts of the game. Because, well, the weapons and armor have a marked impact on your playstyle in the game as a whole, opening up new builds or just giving you more power to have in general. And for those who haven't been there yet, you unlock the ability to actually upgrade armor sets late in Chapter 3 as well, so even an armor set that you missed from Chapter 1 could actually be used in the later stages of the game if you like the set bonus enough to keep it up to snuff. That said, today we're essentially going to dive into all of the missable, optional, or secret weapons and armor in the first 3 chapters of the game, with a slight caveat that while the final one is unlocked in Chapter 3, you can't craft it until Chapter 4, so we will have a little bit of a talk about where you can finish that off just a touch, just to explain actually how to make it. We'll go in game progression order, of course, so you should know when it's time for you to drop out if we go ahead of your progress. Starting off then, the first set of optional gear is all inside of the secret area for Chapter 1, the ancient
Alright guys, today we're taking a look at the best and worst armor sets in Black.
What's good, my fellow destined ones? In today's video, I'm about to make you the most broken sage you could possibly be in Black Myth Wukong. Let's get straight into it. This is going to get you extremely overpowered very quickly to destroy any and every boss in this game. Seriously. First things first, the setup. You're going to need to go and get this right here.
Dewdrops, honey brew, sheep curd, palm tipple. I drink.
The Plague Bane Gourd. This is going to be not necessarily a secret boss, but a certain quest line with a little boy and a drum is going to send you down a well where you're going to fight this boss. Once you fight the boss and open up the chest, you are going to get this gourd. Now, the reason why we want this gourd is because of its ability. The health recovery is half, which kind of hurts, but the attack is increased for a short amount of time. However, with the drinks and the soaks, you can basically make this thing completely broken and overpowered. The lamb brew drink, which you get right here in chapter 2,
Hey guys, it's Zach from the Concon channel, and in this video I'm going to show you how to complete the Old Rattle Drum side quest in Black Myth Wukong. Now the first step that you need to do is make your way through chapter 2 until you get to the Windrest Hamlet Shrine. Once you're here, you can then follow along my lead. Until you get to the Windrest.
Yo te amo más, reina. Yo te amo más, esquite. Quiero esquite. Vamos a hacer uno yo también, ¿eh? ¿Por qué no vas a invertir tu dinero en esquite? No entiendo.
Hamlet Shrine. Once you're here, you can then follow along my lead. And once you get to this point, you'll have to now defeat this enemy called the Tiger's Acolyte. Once you defeat the Tiger's Acolyte, you should get the Old Rattle Drum key item and blood out the Iron Ball material. You then want to fast travel to the Wind Sealed Gate Shrine, and once you're here, you can just follow my lead.
Pues es que sí, eso sí, como... Sí.
A little confused about the fact that also it's worth noting Rectifin is the director of this organization called Project Janus. Okay, what Janus does, it's sort of broad implications of what it does. question unto itself. But one of
Travel to the Windsealed Gate Shrine, and once you're here, you can just follow my lead.
jobs that they do is they've built this facility at Liberty Falls. Okay, so obviously not Liberty Falls, they've built a lot of stuff in Liberty Falls. Liberty Falls is not constructed entirely by Project Janus. It's a town that already existed in the world, but Janus moves in, and according to intel that we learned about in Cold War Zombies, they build like a tunnel network underneath Liberty Falls, which is why he's going down an elevator in this video, and then he gets down there and there's this ball underneath. That's presumably what was trapped inside this underground tunnel network, right? That's also the reason that he's got all these TV screens in his room when he's sleeping. That also makes sense for why he's got the Wunderwaffe there as well, is because he might have an outbreak in such a location. Now, the ball itself, he seemed totally lost on the ball. I don't know, as much as Tim has played the Cold War Zombies maps, I don't know if he's finished the Forsaken Easter egg. And I think if he did, and who knows, like, maybe I can run it through on stream with him or something sometime, but the Forsaken Easter egg ends with this big ball, right? This massive ball, this container, this containment mechanism being used to trap this big, bad, scary entity called the Forsaken, right? And Samantha's there, and Samantha goes with the portal, and it's this whole emotional moment.
Once you get into this area, it will ask you to use, and this is actually going to use that drum that you collected from the
where they're building this underground tunnel network and they're doing all this stuff. There's also supposedly a wall that is built in Liberty Falls. Maybe the wall is some kind of containment procedure to ensure that alongside the ball itself there's sufficient stuff around it to make sure that nothing ever gets out. But I think that's maybe why he's a little bit confused. He doesn't realize that Richmond is in charge of all this stuff. I mean, he doesn't even realize it's Richmond, I don't think. And to be fair, Richmond does look a bit different here.
I got Acolyte boss. And now you need to start defeating the enemies that are going to now try and attack you. Now after defeating the enemies, you then
Here's another thing I'm confused about.
I know you're not commanding. Don't sound like that. At the bottom of that well.
It's kind of crazy he says that, because if he's only played Cold War, let's just assume he's only played Cold War. In Cold War,
want to travel to the Windrest Hamlet Shrine, and once you're here, you can then follow my path once again.
hardly any rebuildable barriers. Like, the idea of rebuildable barriers might actually be a new concept to this map. I don't know. Because if you only play Cold War, you wouldn't have seen Nashra and Toten rebuild all the barriers until round 5. Like, you would never have experienced that. So that could be a new concept to him. Now, I'm not actually saying that that's what's happening here. The, like, pulling through walls thing, I'm assuming that's the kind of vibe that he's referring to. Might... What's up? Crazy he says that, because if he's only played Cold War, let's just assume he's only played Cold War. In Cold War, there are hardly any rebuildable barriers. Like, the idea of rebuildable barriers might actually be a new concept to this map. I don't know. Because if you only played Cold War, you wouldn't have seen Nashra and Toten rebuild all the barriers until round 5. Like, you would never have experienced that. That could be a new concept. Now, I'm not actually saying that that's what's happening here. The, like, pulling through walls thing, I'm assuming that's the kind of vibe that he's referring to. I'm not saying that there's going to be a bunch of rebuildable barriers in the map. I don't think there will be. But the idea of zombies, like, reaching through walls and trying to grab you and stuff, that at least is nothing new. Yeah, it does look, it's like, graphically it looks amazing.
Like this right here, what the hell is this thing, bro?
to the Windrest Hamlet Shrine, and once you're here, you can then follow my path once again.
Like, why can we see the elevator cables? Because I can see these two lines forming as he went down. What it actually is, though, I think, is that we're seeing a doorway being constructed behind him. You'll see it as I play it here. Like this right here.
And once you're in this area, you can then use your drum. And now you'll need to defeat the enemies once.
There you go. You saw it go across, and when it goes across at the top, it's then that something reaches through and grabs it. So it's literally a portal being created, being drawn in real time.
Then it's this giant ball thing.
Yep. So one thing he doesn't seem to recognize is that that is Samantha Maxis'
I'm here,
voice.
little monkey.
So short TLDR on Samantha Maxis. Samantha Maxis entered the zombie storyline way back in the dark. Sorry, in the Ether story. Okay, origins of the zombie story. Samantha's voice. Okay, Ether story. All the stuff happened after Black Ops 4, right? Which is when the Ether story ended. And then Richmond, like I said before, Richmond got spat out of that, and he entered
That's a
this
lie.
dark Ether story, this universe, Cold War Zombies, and he entered that universe as a little boy. And with him came Samantha as a little girl. So little Samantha grew up in this universe as well, right? She is also a product of that previous universe. Interestingly, she doesn't seem to know it. That's an interesting little kind of quirk to her character, but this is her voice. And so adult Samantha Maxis, who we see in Cold War Zombies, she's in a bunch of the cutscenes. You'll recognize her because she's also got a bunch of operator skins as well. So if you see someone running around in Cold War with like a bride outfit, that's Samantha. And Samantha's the one that goes to the Dark Ether. She gets banished there at the end of that game as well. So hearing her voice, it's crazy. It's like, oh, she's not in the Dark Ether. She seems like she's in the containment ball, which is wrong because she's not meant to be in the containment ball. The Forsaken's meant to be in the containment ball, and Sam's meant to be in the Dark Ether somewhere. The fact that he also said that he swore to Sam that she would never be free, that in itself is an interesting quote, because we don't know when he said that to Sam, first of all, but second of all, he's clearly going to check on Sam or to deal with Sam himself, but then why is he going to the containment ball? That should be a completely separate entity. So there's valid questions to be asking here. Let's see what he's about to say. He looks like he's winding up a question.
I need the captures for.
Once again, once you have defeated those enemies, you then want to travel to the Valley of Despair Shrine. Once you're here, you can then again follow my lead. You then want to travel.
Oh, did the robot say Adler?
Edward.
It is. That sounds like Adler to me. No? Is there?
Okay, it's Edward. It's not Edward. She's saying it because she has a German accent, so she's saying Edward, and that's why he's getting confused with Adler versus Edward.
Options? Options unavailable. Gosh dang it, bro!
I got you. Don't worry.
Trying to understand what's going on. Is that Adler? When
No.
he's younger? No way, right?
No.
I'm doing my research. Adler.
What is he gonna find? I'm so curious. It's
Adler.
correct. Is it?
No.
No. Good. No.
What's he got? Kind of jacked up. No way, right? So here's okay.
Travel to the Valley of Despair Shrine. Once you're here, you can then again follow my lead. And once you get deep enough into the area, it will ask you to use the drum again. But this time, after using the drum, you'll get a cutscene instead of having to fight enemies. After the cutscene, you'll then have to enter into the well. And now you have to verse a secret boss called
So I uploaded an entire gameplay.
So did I.
I saw, gosh, what was the name of that first map? Wes? Do you remember? What's this?
Yep. Terminus Halo.
I'll do this myself. I'm gonna go to my channel. Myself. Myself. And go here. And go here. I forgot that a while ago. Holy frick.
Mr. Ruffle Waffles. 18 minutes of Black Ops 6
There it is. Zombies gameplay.
Yep, my video.
You didn't put in the description what it was, bro. Terminus, that's it.
There
Okay.
you go, you
So
got it.
Terminus was the first one. Liberty Falls got like a little sneak peek at the end of the original cinematic that was released. And so now this is the first look kind of at what Liberty Falls is going to be, which I'm assuming is kind of this, which like I said, if just for DMAC purposes, so we don't get DMAC here, it's like that song in the background is DMAC. But it seems like this really Liberty Falls I am getting is call me crazy. It's like it's Stranger Things. Am I tripping?
Honestly, it's not tripping. The small town amongst the big kind of forest, like Cycle River, the American values, I don't think it's tripping at all. Also, if you there is so much in there that feels like Stranger Things, and vice versa. There is so much in Stranger Things that feels like Cold Zombie's story. Like, there's actually a crazy amount of overlap, and just like Black Ops story in general, like they really feel like they feed off each other. The way the sky looks in Stranger Things, like, okay, Tim, this is actually a perfect analogy. Think of the Dark Universe as the Upside Down. That's what it's called, right? Think of it that way. Think of it as this other place that can look hypothetically like Vecna goes in Stranger Things, right? You know, he's like sort of spread out like this, and it's all sort of immense quiet, almost looks like this like like Mars or something like that. It can look like that, it can look like that. Alternatively, it can look like other stuff entirely. It could look like the Upside Down, where it's just like black and it's just like wet on the floor. Like the Dark Ether has lots of different manifestations, but it's quite a good analog to think about. And there are a lot of analogs between Stranger Things and zombies, so like it's actually good that he's thinking about it this way.
Maybe not as intense as Stranger Things. Well, like, it's like a robot. It's like a robot, right? Here's where the song. That's the end of that song.
Yep.
It's very Fallout now, so by the way.
What he also may not know is that in the end.
And once you get deep enough into the area, it will ask you to use the drum again. But this time, after using the drum, you'll get a cutscene instead of having to fight enemies. After the cutscene, you'll then have to enter into the well. And now you have to verse a secret boss called the Mad Tiger. Once you defeat him, you should get the blood of the Iron Ball material, and you'll be able to capture his spirit to gain him as an ability. Also, if you go back into the left section of the cave, you'll be able to get a chest. And in this chest, you'll get a new gourd called the Plague Vein Gourd. It's been Zach from the Concon channel. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.
He's staring Richmond in the face and he doesn't know it.
This is so creepy, by the way. I want to see it. It's scary. I'm gonna watch it. It's terrifying. Terrifying, dude. But so what I'm assuming that's the area around us, right? But Liberty Falls, I'm assuming, is this place that they're at, which is obviously something to do with zombies, so obviously.
Yes.
But they were creating something, and they lost control of what they were creating. That's what this whole, like, storyline seems like to me.
So yeah, I would look at it that way. I would just think about it a little bit less as specifically creating. I would think about it a little bit more in terms of dealing with something that already exists. So in the Dark Ether story, a lot of what we've talked about is dimensional breaches, right? Which was sort of in Rust Belt Problem. That's D Machine, talks about in the Cold War. Dimensional breaches are very much the bread and butter of why outbreaks happen. And through these dimensional breaches, stuff from the Dark Ether either marches through if it's bad zombies, or it climbs through if it's a bigger beastie like the Mortals, like that.
La verga.
So, just in general, obviously, I've been reacting to a ton of this BO6 stuff, the campaign reveals, any cinematic that drops, I try to check out. I can't remember the last time I was watching as many just zombies alone, right? I'm very invested in the next zombie reveal, and I'm very curious to see just how like the game's gonna play out and what it's gonna be like. Which says that he says, "I swear to you, son, you'll never be free."
No,
Wait,
son.
that's his kid, bro.
No, son.
Is that his kid?
Not at all.
And then at the end, it's, "But Edward, I already am." Wait, so that guy's name's Edward. Yes!
Ultra kill, qué milagro.
So his name's Ed?
No!
Also, can you guys do me a favor? So I need zombie experts on this video, so if you know a zombie expert, share with them. Can you guys, can you piece some stuff together for me that I'm missing? Because I feel like you gotta keep it back. Listen, man, you know, I'm coming in raw. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the full zombies lore. I don't know what I'm looking at.
Muchísimas gracias, Ultra Kill. Muchísimas gracias por recomendarme. La verdad se está poniendo difícil el juego y estoy haciendo una build para que no esté tan difícil.
Two will allow you to get 20% max health for a brief moment and slowly recovers 25% of max health over time. And then the soaks, the Celestial Lotus Seed, it just increases that recovery over time, which you're gonna always get yourself almost to full, and it doesn't really matter whether you're at full or not because your enemy's gonna die regardless. But you can see exactly how you can negate the negative effects of the Plague Bane Gourd by using this drink and this soak. Now let's go ahead and get you that gourd real quick. In order to start down that quest line, there's a specific place we need to travel to. You need to be in the Chapter 2 zone, of course, Yellow Wind Ridge. Drop down to the Yellow Wind Formation and the Wind Sealed Gate. Once you've made it to this point in the story, all you have to do is run over here to the left. There's gonna be like these little small ninja enemies. This guy right here, you're good to go. From this point, however, we're not that man right there. You wanna come over here to the left, X zone. So, in rest ham, if you want them this side, mindful to the at you early over, you're gonna ring or to and using or tackle you, jump into your spells, you're good to go. Now, a couple of tips about that guy. The best way to take him out is to use the cloud ability. So you want to go over to self-advance, jump into your spells, go over to alterations, and yes, you want cloud step and everything about it to bait him when he's about to basically grab you.
Bro, falta poco para los 80 suscriptores. ¿Cuántos somos ahorita?
A lot, and it's a one shot if he does it, especially if you're doing this early in the game. But using the cloud step, baiting him to a zone and then slapping him is the fastest way to destroy his health. Another ability that I used was immobilize when I had it. I don't use it anymore, but it definitely works on him if you have it, you know, tricked out a little bit.
Falta
so
uno.
some extra damage. Smash stance and using this right here, the focus point and the Skyfall Strike, is definitely the best way to blast through his health. I got a full-blown guide about this area. This is going to be our farming area where you're going to get a bunch of will, a bunch of rare items you could beat. Absolutely amazing, because when you use your gourd, you're no longer going to be interrupted by incoming attacks, and you take considerable damage reduction, which is just absolutely broken because we just picked up one of the best gourds in the game, and we added land brew to make it even more broken. So I guess you can kind of see where I'm going with this. You turn yourself into an invincible sage, or god mode pretty much. Now, with all of that in play, make sure you run back over to a shrine and put that on your gourd. I currently don't have it on there. So you want to come over to brew. Go into your soaks. Go down into this one, which is your iron pellet, and you're good. Now, it's a balancing game. If you're not really having too much trouble or you're not struggling with dodging, then you don't necessarily need the iron pellet. It's better to use the celestial lotus seed for the extra recovery. But if you're really struggling or you don't really know the boss fight just yet, using the iron pellet to make sure that you completely interrupt all attacks and you get that damage reduction, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Now, with that being said, there is going to be a point in the game where you can go back to the Shin Monkey in Chapter 1 and you can upgrade your gourd or you can upgrade your drinks so that you can get a second soak slot, and that is when you break the game entirely. But I'm still trying to look for a great way to farm the worm that he needs. Game where you can go back to much trouble or your gourds in the game, and we added god mode pretty with back open. So you want to come over to brew. With dodge celestial, you completely soak slot, and that is when you break everything that you possibly could ever want. Your stat amount of time off jump. Secondly, we got this man right here. We'll go ahead and pop our Taoist. We'll take a sip of our gourd. We got this man right here. We'll go ahead and pop our Taoist. Got a full-blown guide about this area. This is going to be our farming area where you're going to get a bunch of will, a bunch of rare items. You can beat down the enemies here to get mine cores. Got a full-blown guide about this area. This is going to be our farming area where you're going to get a bunch of will. All right, our next location is going to be be this right here, the Squall Hideout. I got a full-blown guide about this area. This is going to be our farming area where you're going to get a bunch of will, a bunch of rare items. You can beat down the enemies here to get mine cores. This isn't like the best farming spot, but you can get mine cores.
Approaching. Bro, perdón, estoy viendo una guía de cómo estar más fuerte, que ahorita los jefes están muy difíciles, necesito mejorar mi build. Entonces estoy no farmeando, pero sí mejorando. Estoy viendo un video de cómo mejorar.
See you guys very soon.
mine quartz. You can get mine cores from the enemies here, and it's just a great place to farm up a bunch of sparks. Now, we're not worried about none of that today. What you want to do is there's a vendor down here. If you've already completed his quest line, then you're good to go. If you haven't, then go ahead and peep this video. That's going to explain the entire process to you. But you basically want to run What's good, guys? I'm going to use this game systems against it and help make you a whole bunch of will, a bunch of spark points. This area spawns a bunch to get when you finish this quest line. So yeah, shielded porcupine, guys. There's our... All right, once you grab this rest point right here, you're good to go. This is going to be our stomping grounds. So you're going to want to run over here to the right. There's going to be some stones that pop out the ground, as well as another one of those shielded porcupine guys. There's our first suspect. Whoa, relax, little bro. You can get your turn right now. Jesus. All right, there you go. A bunch of 127s right there. You got this man right here. This is going to be the formation or the transformation that you're going to get when you finish this quest line. So yeah, it's kind of OP because you're just invincible. Like, God dang. You're kind of slow though. But these enemies can do absolutely nothing to you. Oh my God. All right, that's enough of that. That's enough, that's enough. I'm sorry, I bullied you a little bit. I know. So you can start to see the gains bear. From there, this area is where you fought two mini bosses. There was like the little guy and the big guy. If you fight the big guy first, then you don't have to worry about the little guy. He'll run off, and then you can continue his quest line. Two mini bosses. There was like the little guy and the big guy. If you fight the big guy first, then you don't have to worry about the little guy. He'll run off, and then you can continue his quest line. If you continue that quest line, however, and you break the secret wall, you're gonna get 3 extra boss fights from that. If you want more information, go ahead and check out this video right here, but that's not why we're here today. Go ahead from the Village of Despair Shrine and run straight back, cross this bridge, and make your way all the way over here. These rock guys and this porcupine-like enemy are going to be your best friend. The porcupine-like, whatever this thing is worth 275 experience per kill, and he's going to give you rare items every time you kill it. So it's a great idea to take him out. Make sure you're always taking out these range enemies because they're just annoying. And then the rock formations are 127 experience. So you can start to see the gains real quick. This area spawns a bunch of them, and you can continuously respawn them in to stock up on a bunch of will as well as spark points. The farming route that I like to take is this one right here. You're gonna run all the way to the back until you see this shrine. Go ahead and grab this shrine and take a rest. All right, once you grab this rest point right here, you're good to go. This is going to be our stomping grounds. So you're gonna wanna run over here to the right. There's going to be some stones that pop out the ground, as well as another one of those shielded porcupine guys. There's our first suspect. Whoa, relax, little bro. You can get your turn right now. Jesus. All right, there you go. A bunch of 127s right there. You got this man right here. This is gonna be the formation or the transformation that you're gonna get when you finish this quest line. So yeah. It's kind of OP because you're just invincible. Like, god dang. You're kind of slow though. But these enemies can do absolutely nothing to you. Oh my god. Alright, that's enough of that. That's enough, that's enough. I'm sorry, I bullied you a little bit. I know. I feel your pain. I'm sorry. I lied. gonna run right back here and grab this merchant over here, the man in stone. Go to purchase, and if you've already completed his quest line, then you're good to go. If you haven't, cores from the enemies here, and it's just a great place to farm up a bunch of sparks. Now, we're not worried about none of that today. What you want to do is there's a vendor down here. If you've already completed his quest line, then you're good to go. If you haven't, then go ahead and peep this video. That's going to explain the entire process to you. But you basically want to run right back here and grab this merchant over here, the man in stone. Go to purchase, and you want to grab this, the iron pellet. This pellet is absolutely amazing because when you use your gourd, you're no longer going to be interrupted by incoming attacks, and you take considerable damage reduction, which is just absolutely broken because we just picked up one of the best gourds in the game, and we added lamb brew to make it even more broken. So I guess you can kind of see where I'm going with this. You turn yourself into an invincible sage or god. Now, with all of that in play, make sure you run back over to the shrine and put that on your board. I currently don't have it on there. You want to come over to brew. Go into your soaks. Go down into this one, which is your iron pellet, and you're good. Now, it's a balancing game. If you're not really having too much trouble or you're not struggling with dodging, then you don't necessarily need the iron pellet. It's better to use the celestial lotus seed for the extra recovery. But if you're really struggling or you don't really know the boss fight just yet, using the iron pellet to make sure that you completely interrupt all attacks and you get that damage reduction, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Now, with that being said, there is going to be a point in the game where you can go back to the Shin Monkey in chapter 1 and you can upgrade your gourd or you can upgrade your drinks so that you can get a second soak slot, and that is when you break the game entirely. But I'm still trying to look for a great way to farm the worm that he needs. Anyways, now that you have the Taoist monk, you have that drink, that soak, and everything that you possibly could ever want. There's one more item that really makes this entire thing pop, but you're gonna find that in chapter 3. It's the enhanced tiger subduing pellets. There's actually a chest on your way to the, I'll just say on your way to the small Buddha guy that eats the watermelon in that cutscene. You're gonna find him eventually, and when you do, you're gonna go through a whole entire shrine, and on your way to him, before you see him at the pavilion or the gazebo, I think that's what it's called, the gazebo, you actually want to backtrack until a chest that is gonna have this inside of it. It's enhanced tiger subduing pellet recipe. Once you have this, you're stacking so much damage, it's insane. Now, I'm pretty sure that this does not stack on top of this tiger subduing pellets, but I haven't been able to prove that just yet. Anyways, we'll pop that so we got a boost for a long amount of time off jump. Secondly, we got this man right here. We'll go ahead and pop our Taoist. We'll take a sip of our gourd, and you're done. Whatever you hit is getting melted. Absolutely melted, okay? This setup on a boss deletes all the bosses in the game, no matter who it is. If they take physical damage, they're going to die. If you immobilize them first, they're going to die even faster. It's just broken. This is the greatest setup and one of, which is just absolutely broken, because we just picked up one of the best gourds in the game and we added lamb brew to make it even more broken. So I guess you can kind of see where I'm going with this. You turn yourself into an invincible sage or god pretty much. Now, with all of that in play, make sure you run back over to a shrine and put that on your gourd. I currently don't have it on there. So you want to come over to brew. Go into your soaks. go down into this one, which is your iron pellet, and you're good. Now, it's a balancing game. If you're not really having too much trouble or you're not struggling with dodging, then you don't necessarily need the iron pellet. It's better to use the celestial lotus seed for the extra recovery. But if you're really struggling or you don't really know the boss fight just yet, using the iron pellet to make sure that you completely interrupt all attacks and you get that damage reduction, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Now, with that being said, there is going to be a point in the game where you can go back to the Shin Monkey in chapter 1 and you can upgrade your gourd or you can upgrade your drinks so that you can get a second soak slot, and that is when you break the game entirely. But I'm still trying to look for a great way to farm the worm that he needs. Anyways, now that you have the Taoist monk, you have that drink, that soak, and everything that you possibly could ever want. There's one more item that really makes this entire thing pop, but you're gonna find that in chapter 3. It's the enhanced tiger subduing pellets. There's actually a chest on your way to the, I'll just say on your way to the small Buddha guy that eats the watermelon in that cutscene. You're gonna find him eventually, and when you do, you're gonna go through a whole entire shrine, and on your way to him, before you see him at the pavilion or the gazebo, I think that's what it's called, the gazebo, you actually want to backtrack until a chest that is gonna have this inside of it. It's enhanced tiger subduing pellet recipe. Once you have this, you're stacking so much damage, it's insane. Now, I'm pretty sure that this does not stack on top of this tiger subduing pellets, but I haven't been able to prove that just yet. Anyways, we'll pop that so we got a boost for a long amount of time off jump. Secondly, we got this man right here. We'll go ahead and pop our Taoist. We'll take a sip of our gourd, and you're done. Whatever you hit is getting melted. Absolutely melted, okay? This setup on a boss deletes all the bosses in the game, no matter who it is. If they take physical damage, they're going to die. If you immobilize them first, they're going to die even faster. It's just broken. This is the greatest setup and one of the best physical DPSing, I guess you would say, builds in the game.
So what's going on guys, Kate is here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the best Monkey King build in Black Myth Wukong. So I've reached level 90 and throughout my playthrough and fighting different bosses, I've now figured out the most optimized equipment, what are the best spirits, what are really good relics, what stances should we focus on upgrading early on and much more. Our build's main focus is to stack as much critical hit chance and damage increase as possible, while also having really good defense, so we would survive very hard enemy hits. By using the best of the best gear sets, weapons and perks, this setup will carry us through every single hard boss fight. So, if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. So then let's start off with the equipment, and the way I found it to work the best for me is just to use whatever best item you got until level 50. Because after that milestone you will start getting access to more powerful items and set pieces, that if you have 2 or 4 same gear sets, they will give you extra bonuses. And this will be very important in the mid to late game, because with each level the enemies will get harder and harder. So for us not to die hundreds of times, we want to maximize our damage and survivability. And this is where our equipment comes into play. So first of all, for the mask, we want to use the Bull King's mask. This will grant us moderate focus upon taking damage, and if the destined one is staggered, then we will get even more focus on top of everything else. Then for armor, we get the Monkey King's chest piece.
Stamina, martial arts, survival, smash, pillar, thrust, immobilize, ring of fire, cloud stab, rock solid. What's the best skills and spells you should be using in Black Myth Wukong? Well, I've been testing them all, so let's talk about it. We shall start with the best foundation skills, which everyone would be using anyway, regardless of your build. In the stamina line here, composure is the main one that you want to grab here once you can get a little bit of points into this line, because it will allow you to dodge without losing your light attack combo, so you can actually still get that finisher off. Most of the damage from your light attack does come from that finisher. It also staggers. Enemies, which is like one of the main reasons, because you can knock them out of those attacks, right? So because most enemies are just going to stand there and let you get off your entire long attack combo chain,
So what's going on guys, Kate is here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will rank every single best and most powerful weapon section down below, involving the Willowwood staff. This weapon is one of the best basic weapons that you will start the game with. It has a very low attack stat, and also has absolutely no critical hit chance. Furthermore, it does not have a unique effect. However, it will eventually have several new upgrade forms that you can craft from it. This includes the Wind Beer, the Rat Sage and the Kang Jing staff. Therefore, you will want to prioritize collecting the necessary ingredients, so that you can upgrade the staff to something stronger as soon as possible. I really do have any questions, feel free to station belt. So the Kang Jing it will start the game with. It has a very low attack weapon. We have the Willowwood staff. This weapon is one of the best basic weapons that you will start the game with. It has a very low attack stat and also has absolutely no crit.
Completed his quest line, then you're good to go. If you haven't, then go ahead and peep this video. That's going to explain the entire process to you. But you basically want to run right back here and grab this merchant over here, the Man in Stone. Go to purchase and you want to grab this, the iron pellet. This pellet is absolutely amazing because when you use your gourd, you're no
thing in this game unless you're against a very specifically important story boss. So any boss that isn't literally blocking your progression. In Black Myth Wukong, most of the flow of combat will be based off of two main things: your focus meter and your spell cooldowns. You unlock a bit more mechanics for combat later on, of course, but these are the main considerations to start with. Your focus meter is spent on your heavy attacks to increase their range of impact and the amount of damage and stagger that they build up. So like many Souls-like games, your heavy attacks are important to actually hit when openings are available for them. At the start of the game, you will only have one focus charge, but you will have seen in the prologue that you can have many more than that. You build up focus either by holding down the heavy attack button to prep a heavy attack to release at the end of the charge. If you undo this charge before releasing the attack, you'll just lose what you built up. Or instead, you can build it up naturally by hitting enemies with light attacks, which will fill the bar in the bottom right of your screen until it tips over into a focus point. The basic flow of combat is interweaving your light attacks to build up these focus points, then spending the focus points on heavy attacks and using your spells generally on cooldown if they provide a bonus in the situation, though some are best saved for specific moments within fights. Past that then, let's talk about equipment in the game. Generally speaking, upgrades to your wearable gear are few and far between in Black Myth Wukong compared to its general size and similar games of the genre. They are out there, but they aren't common or plentiful necessarily, so don't expect to turn every corner and find the Master Sword within 10 minutes of actual gameplay. That said, once you reach this specific shrine in the first chapter, the Forest of Wolves, Guan Yin Temple Shrine, you unlock the ability to craft the Pilgrim set of armor at the shrine, every individual piece of it. This is rushable before any boss once you've unlocked the Immobilize spell at least, and specifically from the first shrine after that. If you head forwards and right, you'll find a really nasty Stonehead Monk boss. This guy is essentially the Tree Sentinel of Black Myth Wukong. He is way stronger than anything else that is nearby, and he is completely optional, skippable, so you can return to him later, because you can just run past him and get through the cave behind him to get to the next area. Defeat the guards through here, and the door to the actual village will open, bringing you to this shrine that unlocks armor crafting and your first major upgrade as a result. This is a good tip in its own right though, which is that fog walls or things of that nature around charged attacks, but it can also just be as simple as earlier we mentioned the sprint attack equipment set that you can get very early on. Well, there are things like Force Unbound for the Smash Dance tree that lets you sprint while you're charging heavy attacks. You can use this with the attack power builds while sprinting and sprint speed part of the armor set itself to create a very clear hit and run playstyle where you charge your heavy attacks running around while it charges, then dive in and hit them with it, and then continue and repeat that, running around ancient Guan Yin Temple. You access this zone by ringing the 3 large bells across Chapter 1. The first of these bells is behind the Wolf Guai boss, who is straight ahead from the outside the Forest Temple Shrine. He is missable, and so is the bell behind him. The second bell is behind Guangmo, who is a mandatory boss near the Snake Trail Temple Shrine. The third is behind the white-clad noble boss, who is also mandatory near the Marsh of White for most people and available not too long after, and that is the weapon is arguably better for most people and available too. That said, our next weapon is arguably better for most people and available not too long after, and that is the Cloud Patterned Stone Staff. This has 60 attack but also has 30 defense inherently, which is great too, and the unique effect boosts the damage of charged smash heavy attacks. This synergizes super well with things like the sprint attack armor for charged heavy sprint hit and run builds, or things like the Cloud Strike set with the skill tree upgrade that lets you charge heavy attacks while invisible. To get this, you have to defeat a missable secret boss in chapter 2, not too long past that waterfall, whose name is Shigan Dong. You summon him in the area for the Stone Vanguard mandatory boss by interacting with the big Buddha head after you have collected the 6 Buddha Eye collectibles previously within the level. The first one of these is right behind the Ladies, gentlemen, and destined ones of all ages, as we move forward, people are slowly getting further and further into Black Myth Wukong. And as they do so, there are a number of questions that I get, a lot of things that I often see people surprised about in comments, or just completely unaware of. And well, yesterday I went over pretty much all of the important secrets in Chapter 2, and the first little bit of Chapter 3 as well. I thought today might
Black Myth Wukong, in my opinion, is really living up to all expectations as one of the best and one of the most challenging Souls-likes of the year. And it's because of the second part of the bosses. Light attack.
So Black Myth Wukong is way bigger than I thought. Heading into its first chapters, it became immediately obvious there are lots of mechanics and secrets to look out for. So after 100 hours spent in the game, here are some of the biggest tips and tricks that I wish I knew the first time playing, and other things you probably want to know if you want to have the perfect start. Let's get started with the combat. It's fast, dynamic, and super fun. Black Myth Wukong. A lot of them actually have secret mechanics or even secret upgrades that massively buff them. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Coming right up, the convenience. The next armor is just given to you by finishing the game, or at least going into the final chapter of the game and defeating the 5. Some of you are about to say, I previously claimed this was the best armor in the game, and I still think it is. However, for today's rank,
there are some items and unlocks that are a legit game changer in Black Myth Wukong, like one automatically deals damage to surrounding enemies. I got a way to basically do a second light attack finisher. There's a spear with a brand new moveset and way more. Let's start with a very powerful new defensive move that lets you move out of the way of an enemy attack, but more interesting is that you keep your light attack combo. Meaning that if you are able to build it up against an enemy and then do the non-void spirit to jump backwards, you can immediately approach the target again with, for example, a light attack finisher, dealing a lot of damage while ignoring their attack. And the cost is also very low, something you can decrease even more when upgrading it, and then you will also be immune for a short time after you do the effect. So an amazing extra defensive option you can use many times during an encounter. And the perk that gives you a moderate amount of stamina when being hit is also pretty great. So to get this, we want to, from the Forest Felicity Shrine that you will reach if you just play through chapter 3, talk to the character near the Thor. Reach if you just play. To get this, we want to, from the Forest.
Kind sir, I was a fox guy who practiced to become one of the humans. One day, I was foraging for food, and a young scholar, I couldn't move. I thought little did I foresee. I saw. I beg you, sir, to take my fur and wear my form, confront him and calm my sorrowful heart.
The Felicity Shrine that you will reach if you just play through chapter 3. Talk to the character near the Torii and keep talking. So that's you reach the new Thunderclap temple and the Mahavira Hall Shrine. So that's all the way in the back from the temple entrance. And the Mahavira. Continue with chapter 3 until you reach the new Thunderclap temple and the Mahavira Hall Shrine. So that's all the way in the back from the temple entrance. It's smart to equip the item so you can transform into a fox, which is needed. You can already do it when you like go down the stairs. You have to go to the right, just run past the enemies, don't get hit, go into the building, up the stairs, and then go like this outside and then take the left. Then at one point you will reach the temple, but you have to go in here as the fox, because then a cutscene will play and now you can do the boss battle, defeat him, and then
hiding in the side hall of the temple. Kind sir.
Jaguars shall crush them on this! The land of Thunderclap allows no faith but one! A four-faced monk! Cast him out! Once you enter the temple, you must kowtow. A ghost wants you dead already. For years, I've prayed you'd find peace. Still you come to take my life in penance against yours. You wouldn't understand my agony when I took your life. The Buddha sees no such vengeance. I shall usher you to the beyond once more. Even the scriptures can free me from this dream. The nature of Yaguais is beyond remedy. I've brought this on myself.
you get the spirit. To finish this fox quest, return to the Forest Felicity Shrine, then talk to the same NPC, and now you get the Snow Fox brush.
It's the eyes that see make your power leak. Likewise, shall crush them like this! I have no ordination scars. Let me give you one.
They say mortals and Yao Guais walk different paths, but it's after seeing him again that I understood. Those who fear Yao Guais are fouler than what they fear.
which increases the duration of transformations. Which is nice for a new transformation I want to touch on in a second, and as you can see I also now have 3 curio slots, so we'll also talk about that. First let's look at the brand new weapon, because if you have reached this point in chapter 3 they can very easily pick up the spear that has a completely different light attack combo with multiple steps before the finisher. Really cool, and it increases your damage in the thrust stance as well, so great if you like that playstyle. And again, it's easy to get. First you need to find Captain Lotus, who you can battle from the upper pagoda shrine and then jump down like this. Then you get the first soul. There are 4 in total. 2 are from chapter 3 main bosses that you have to battle. The Captain Wise voice is one that is actually close by to what I just showed you. Then progress through chapter 3. You will eventually go to the longevity road, and from there you can loot an item that requires you to walk like this. And it's very hard to miss. It's like a huge thing, and you got the take prompt. And then also from that same Longevity Road Shrine, if you just continue with chapter 3, so go to the new Thunderclap Temple, you will reach the final boss that is needed for the spear. So then, if you've killed this boss, you want to return to the lower pagoda and then run back to one of the final prison cells here. You can kick the door in to talk to this guy who's like sitting here, give him the 4 souls, and now you will get the material to craft the spear at a shrine and get this very unique playstyle. You can also craft it at a blacksmith who can also upgrade your armor. Let's look at that and way more, of course. If you